What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Q&A, the show where I take your pregame questions and your postgame questions and answer them here on this show. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the Week 6 postgame questions. Also, before I get into this, I want to thank you for your support, whether you're subscribed, notified. I have been dealing with some major issues with YouTube. They pretty much took away about 2 weeks of ad revenue from my channel. As you guys know, this channel is not only my passion, but also it is my job. It is my way of making a living. And I still have bills to pay despite what YouTube did to some of my earnings. I don't know what the future status of my channel is and what that's going to be like. But if you can support me by following me on Twitch or joining my Patreon or even sending a one-time donation through PayPal, that would be greatly appreciated and really go a long way that this channel can hopefully, withstand some of the weirdness that I've been dealing with YouTube within the last month. So without further ado, let's jump into these questions. And the first one's going to be from Philip Harmon, who says, "Hey Quincy, big fan of what you do. Why does it feel like the Browns struggle to get receivers open from week to week? Is this on Baker, OBJ, Kevin Stefanski, Jarvis?" It's all of them. And I'll be fair here. I think it's on OBJ and Jarvis much less. I think it's on Kevin Stefanski a little less. And I think the bulk of this pie is on Baker Mayfield. I think he has a plurality of the blame here because he just hasn't found these guys. Sometimes it's because the pocket collapses. Sometimes it's because he collapses from the pocket. Sometimes it's because he's not comfortable enough in the pocket to slide left or slide right. Now, the good thing / bad thing about Pittsburgh's game was the reason I think Baker Mayfield did get sacked was that he was trying to trust his offensive line more. He was trying to stick in the pocket more. It just happened to be the week that the Steelers were just going to obliterate this offensive line for whatever reason. That's more or less what happened Sunday. Why they're not finding more wide open wide receivers? One, I don't think Baker Mayfield's comfortable in these empty sets yet. I think he needs to have better footwork in the pocket. I think he needs to find better throwing lanes. I think he needs to be able to see things more clearly pre and post snap, because sometimes he gets confused on one of those two steps and he misses a wide open receiver. So no doubt some of this blame, most of this blame is on Baker Mayfield. Some of it's on Kevin Stefanski because he ultimately has to make it easier for Baker Mayfield. And Odell and Jarvis, they're just doing what they're coached to do, but sometimes they're not getting as open as you would expect those two to get open, which is also adding to the problem, but they're probably the smallest part of that problem. So everybody has their hand in it. I think it's probably Baker and Kevin that need to figure it out the most. I don't know what more you can ask for Jarvis and Odell to do other than be superhumans, which that's not a reasonable expectation of both of them. The next question is from Pan Gas, who says, "Hey Q, do you think the main reason this was a blowout is our offense doesn't match up well with the defense of Pittsburgh and it got fast overwhelming? Also, is it possible that 3 teams in the AFC North can make the playoffs?" Absolutely. I think 3 teams in the AFC North are going to make the playoffs. Let's face facts here. The Browns got obliterated by Pittsburgh, but also football is a week-to-week game, and the Browns are still 4-2 with the chance to go 5-2 against Cincinnati, which is no layup, but ultimately a winnable game, a game that you won at home. So if you're the Cleveland Browns one, you got to figure out a way to get a road division win. That is something that's starting to become a problem. You need to get a road division win. This is your opportunity to get a road division win. So yeah, the Browns are in a good spot to make the playoffs, but they got to do it. They got to execute. They got to win some of these games, and they have a stretch of winnable games here that they absolutely need to capitalize on. Now, do I think this is the main reason that this was a blowout for the Browns, was the offense not matching up well with the Steelers' defense? No, I think you had a lot of parts of this team that just did not perform up to spec, right? We have seen this team perform up to spec against a good team like Indy. But against the Steelers, they just figured it out. Maybe Kevin Stefanski got thoroughly outcoached, but this offensive line has never looked worse. The quarterback, who was injured, has never looked worse. The wide receivers didn't get to do very much. The tight ends didn't get to do very much. The running backs have never looked worse. The run blocking had never looked worse. And then on the other side of the ball, you can say the same exact thing for the Browns defense. The fact is that Mike Tomlin had an excellent game plan, and even better, the Steelers executed very well on that game plan, and they completely dominated this team. But that doesn't mean that all that's going to carry over into Cincinnati or into these other games. It's a week-to-week sport. We'll see how they look like in week 15 and 17 because those are going to be the huge question marks for the Browns. That's going to be the opportunity to get this monkey off your back. I think this is more about Mike Tomlin out coaching Kevin Stefanski, which is fine. Mike Tomlin's been the head coach for Pittsburgh forever. Kevin Stefanski has not been the head coach of the Browns forever. These are the things that happen to rookie head coaches. The good thing is that 4-2 is not normally a thing that happens to rookie head coaches, so you're ahead there. So, Browns fan, hey, this week's going to require a healthy dose of perspective and nuance. The next question comes from Luke Richards, who says, do you think Baker should have started this game? I know as the leader of the team, he would have wanted to, but the game he played out there and the punishment he took physically, also the mentality from INTs, was it worth the risk? From a health standpoint, absolutely not. He should have never played. The second I saw him out there at the end of the first quarter and especially at the end of the second quarter, I felt like this was kind of irresponsible on Baker Mayfield's part and on Kevin Stefanski's part to have him out there. I don't care how well you thought he could be protected. The fact is that this man was wincing to breathe most of the game. Now, I know they're saying it's bruised rib. I know Baker is being a tough guy and saying that he's not hurt, but he's clearly hurt. And look, I'm not saying this because I think Case Keenum would have changed the result on Sunday. I think you lose that game regardless of who's starting at quarterback. The problem is long-term because I don't know. To me, after watching Case Keenum for that quarter he was in there, I don't think this Browns team's best future is with Case Keenum at quarterback, in my opinion. I don't think he has the arm strength to hold up in Cleveland into winter months, and especially in the AFC North where he's going to have to play outdoors. I know he played in the NFC North, but outside of Chicago and Green Bay, all those other teams play inside. So that he had that benefit, and he was on the Minnesota Vikings, who also play inside. Here in the AFC North, nobody plays in domes. It's all going to be outside, exposed in the element in emptier stadiums, which is going to make the wind toll even heavier. So for the Browns, if they want to get the most out of this season, it's going to take Baker Mayfield being healthy to do that. And if they're not going to take the steps for Baker Mayfield to be healthy, we might just be seeing a broken rib Baker Mayfield play for the rest of the season. And that's not going to help anybody because it turns your quarterback situation from something that was close to a C+ to a B- to a D- situation there with either a healthy Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield. So the Browns need to find a way to get Baker Mayfield healthy, and that means he has to sit out a few weeks. Do it, because having a healthy Baker Mayfield is more important for this team's long-term success than having a hurt Baker Mayfield trying to recover. Next question is from Nate JJ, who says, do you think Wyatt Teller is vital for our rushing attack? Hey, look, I think this is more of a causation than effect thing, because if you look at the last 2 weeks, the Browns have not been able to run the ball great. You can, of course, say Wyatt Teller is not played, and that's why they have not been able to run the ball great. But also you can say that, hey, they played a defensive line that had DeForest Buckner in one of the best interior units against Indy, and then they played Pittsburgh, who has one of the best run defenses in football. And I think that is more of the cause than Wyatt Teller. I think if Wyatt Teller was there, sure, you might have gotten a couple extra yards, but I don't think you go from not being able to run the ball well to being able to run the ball well all of a sudden just because Wyatt Teller's in there. Again, that's more causation than correlation. I think the causation is more on the run defenses you have played in that 2-week span versus Wyatt Teller just being there. The next question comes from Bill Bailey, who says, Quincy, I know it's easy to pick Baker apart right now, but you must admit he keeps getting up. That's something we haven't had in QB for quite a while here in Cleveland. It'd also be easy to say, take your shoes off and go home. His mentality is what we need right now, and I'm not ready to give up on. Hey, look, I applaud Baker Mayfield's toughness. I applaud that he went out there. But I think there's some point, I think Baker and this team has to realize for the long-term future of this team, and this team is 4-2, long-term future matters when it comes to this season, it wasn't necessarily the smartest play for him to go out there against Pittsburgh. I understand you want to win that game. And if you throw Case Keenum out there, you know your chances of winning that game have drastically lowered because Case Keenum just ain't going to beat the Steelers through the air. That is what it is. Baker Mayfield has the arm strength to be able to take advantage of that. And I understand why they did that, because even with some cracked ribs, Baker Mayfield has an arm that is 10 times stronger than Case Keenum. But they need a healthy Baker Mayfield in order to have above average quarterback play this season. And that's what's most important for this team. I respect Baker Mayfield's toughness. I respect the decision to go out there. But also, I think at some point this team needs to do what's best for the team. And what's best for the team is to make sure Baker Mayfield can be healthy, because that's how you get much, much better. That's how you improve. That's how you end up beating these teams, the Ravens and the Steelers, come week 15 and 17, is with a healthy Baker Mayfield, not with a still recovering from an injury in his ribs Baker Mayfield. So I get the point. I respect the sentiment, and I don't think it's time to give up on Baker either, but I do think you need to put Baker in the best positions to be successful, and having him out there with a hurt rib and then the offensive line just having their worst performance of the season right when your quarterback is hurt at his most in the season just wasn't responsible. And after the second half, they should have let him sit so he didn't get hurt even more. And I'm just worried that that injury got worse on Sunday and has the opportunity to get worse in the coming weeks if they continue to play him. But hopefully I'm wrong on that. The next question comes from Noah's Movies, who says, "What's up with the play calling? Seemed off all game." I don't even know how bad the play calling was, because the protection up front just never gave the play calling any chance. So, yeah, I think that's part of why the play calling looks so bad, and also the play calling might have been bad. Maybe they went into this game with a game plan of, hey, Baker, you're going to have some time to throw, and that was an absolute mistake. So while I don't know what the play calling situation was, I do know that Mike Tomlin, again, outcoached Kevin Stefanski, which is fine. Rookie head coaches get outcoached all the time. Mike Tomlin is not somebody to be embarrassed that you got outcoached by in your first year. So not anything to ring the alarm bells about, but also, things to improve on for the Cleveland Browns. The next question comes from Kenny, who says, "Hey, Quincy, do you think everybody is overreacting to this loss to Pittsburgh?" Yes, I see a lot of similarities to the 49ers defense last year to this current Steelers defense. Do you feel better about this loss if the Steelers continue to steamroll teams from here on and here out? No, because I don't want to see the Steelers just go 16-0. I'm sorry. I'm still a Steeler hater in that respect, right? I'm not going to sit here and cheer for the Steelers going 16-0 or 14-2 and being the talk of the league. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to deal with Tony on a 16-0 Steeler team. Shout out to Tony there. I do AFC North talk with him. But in all realness, look, the Steeler team outplayed you, outcoached you, out everything you. And that happens in the NFL. That doesn't mean you can't beat them in Week 17. That just means you have to be better than you were this week in Week 17 to beat the Steelers. Can you do that? I think it's possible, but we'll see. The next question comes from the football fan, who says, "Hey, Quincy, love your videos, even though I'm a Rams fan." Shout out to you, man. What do you think the Steelers did to hold the Browns to 7 points? Was it Baker's fault or the team in general? Look, you could blame the pick six on Baker, and I think that definitely had an effect on the game. But as far as this whole game, oh, God, no, it's not all on Baker. What did the Steelers do to limit this Browns offense to 7 points? They just were able to dominate the lines of scrimmage on both aspects of the game. When it came to the pass protection, they just blew the Browns out the water. And when it came to stopping the run, they absolutely did that. And when you can stop the run and when you can get to the quarterback and pressure him consistently at will, hey, you're going to win a lot of football games. You're going to dominate a lot of teams, because what offense can do anything when you can't do one or two of those things well? It just ruins the whole game for the team. So the Steelers' defensive line absolutely out everything this Browns offensive line, and this Browns offensive line should be embarrassed of how they would perform against the Steelers defensive line, because I don't think it's representative of what this Browns offensive line can do. So that's how the Steelers held the Browns to 7 points. They dominated the line of scrimmage. The next question comes from Elliot Mills, who says, "Hey, Quincy, do you think the game has long-term negative impacts on the team moving forward, or do you think that we can recover the same way we did after the Ravens game?" Absolutely. I mean, look, the NFL's week to week. I think the players in the NFL know it's week to week. The Ravens got blown out by the Browns, who went 6-10 last year in Baltimore. They did not carry any negative residual effects into their season. So for the Browns, hey, if they respond against Cincinnati and play well, I don't expect there to be a bunch of negative residual impact from this game. But if you do go on a losing streak against teams that you should beat, then that's when you're going to start to get concerned about some of these things that happen in Pittsburgh, where they're things that Pittsburgh just exposed. So it's going to all depend on what they do against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a team that comes into this game playing well, so you're going to have to play really good to beat them. Next question comes from Zay G, who says, "Do our 2 losses to solid teams cast doubt on the strength of this team we've beaten so far?" No, football's week to week. I think Indy's still a good team. I think Cincy's a much better team than their record indicates. Washington beat a Philly team that has proven to be pretty decent throughout the last 2 weeks. So, no, you have beaten some solid teams to get to this point. I think what people are forgetting is that there are tiers in the NFL. There are teams that at this point can come out the AFC at the playoffs and end it today. And that is definitely Pittsburgh, that's definitely Baltimore, and that's definitely Kansas City. Then there are teams that can make the playoffs and maybe make a little bit of a run in the playoffs. It's definitely Cleveland and a bunch of other teams. There are teams that might be able to be in the hunt in the playoffs. That's a bunch of other teams as well. And then there are teams that just stink, and that's the New York Jets. There are tiers to this. Just because you lost to the Steelers, who have proven themselves to be in that highest tier, does not mean that you're automatically down there with the Jets. I think you're a playoff team still. You have a lot of time to figure things out. Let's see how this team plays at the end of the season and see if they get better. That's going to be the mark on Kevin Stefanski to see if he's a great head coach or not. Next question comes from Marino, who says, hey, how do you see the rest of the season looking for real, for real? I think the Browns are still going to be able to make the playoffs. I think they still have a shot at double-digit wins. I think a lot of things can happen after this. This team has to get better. They have to perform better on division road games. That absolutely is a thing they need to do. But that being said, they're 4-2. And they have an opportunity to win a few games here and get much better. A lot of that's going to depend on Baker Mayfield's development and his health. But if it can get to where it needs to be, this team's going to be very dangerous. It's just a point of whether they can get there, and we'll see in the coming weeks. But that's all the questions for this week. Again, guys, thank you for asking them a ton of questions. I really do appreciate the support there. And again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.